Welcome back in, everybody, to Thursday's edition of Birds 365. Just one day away from the Philadelphia Eagles kicking off in Sao Paulo, Brazil, versus the Green Bay Packers. Joined now by John Stolnis, at John Stolnis on X. Make sure you guys follow him. John, welcome to the show, man. Good to have you on. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for being here this morning.
Yeah, it's good to see you guys. Birds are here.
Yeah. Birds are here. Good to see you. It's been a while. New digs. Yeah. How is the new house? How's it working out?
It's a work in progress. So this is a temporary space I got right now. We're doing some renovations, so you may hear some banging. It's different points during the interview. Yeah. That's just folks working on stuff, but it's good.
No problem. It's always a transitional time. We're thrilled to get any time with you, especially on the eve of the season, John. I guess the biggest breaking news is that Devin White did not board the plane to Brazil. So Nakobe Dean wins that job, and he was going to win it. By the way, he was going to play even if Devin was healthy. He was going to be the starting linebacker. I think that's a good thing. A lot of people are very upset by that. I think because partially the Eagles kind of played up the Devin White stuff, trying to sort of buttress up his reputation, however you want to call it. This is good. Devin White was always a one-year guy, man. Nakobe, if he takes that next step, could be here for a number of years.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's what you wanted to see last year with Nakobe Dean when he was the focal point of the defense really coming into the season. Everybody was saying the defense is really going to hinge on how good Nakobe Dean can be, especially, I mean, in the back seven. Or back six or whatever it is they do now because there's so much nickel, but whatever it is. I mean, you've got basically a guy here that you've drafted in his third year that you really need to make the leap. And it seems so far in training camp, he's done that. He's earned that spot. I think the thing with Devin White that's a little confusing is that the Eagles were playing Devin White and his athleticism up all summer. He ran with the ones for so much of training camp this summer that it seemed like he had an inside track until the last few weeks. And but I mean, by all accounts, Dean was the better player. And certainly that's the guy you want to put all your eggs into that basket because he's the guy you drafted. He's the guy who you want to be here long term. Devin White was the guy that you basically signed in case Dean didn't work out so that you had something better than what you had last year. So I get it. I think it is a great thing that Nakobe Dean earned the starting job, and he and Zach Bond are hopefully going to be a more athletic, physical duo than what we saw here last year. I don't think the injury is good news necessarily because it does affect your depth, but maybe that gets Jeremiah Trotter Jr. on the field a little bit more, and we see what we've got from him. I think Devin White was never really a fit in the Vic Fangio offense. The signing was a little bit head-scratching to begin with. I don't know what this means for his spot, his security on the roster long-term, but for this week anyway, I mean, I don't think it's really going to affect what the Eagles do unless there's an injury or two.
Yeah, no doubt, John. John, we've been previewing this game for months now because of the offseason. What's your thought going into this game? I think this Packers team is pretty good. I think the Eagles have a tough test here in week one. What's your early just preview overall on the game and how these two teams match up?
I think it's really interesting that the Eagles are favored in this game on a neutral field, given the way the Packers finished the season last year and the way the Eagles finished the season last year. And if you look at the rosters, I think the Packers offense has a chance to be just as good as the Eagles offense and the potential to be better. But when you have Jordan Love, who I think has emerged as one of the top quarterbacks in the NFL, again, it's a kind of a smallish sample size, really from midseason last year on, but he was unbelievable last year. And certainly with the way he whipped up on the Cowboys in the playoffs and the Packers gave the 49ers all they could handle in the divisional round, that is a team on the way up. I like the fact that their defense is kind of a blitzing defense. It's an aggressive defense. They're not going to sit back and make you go 15 plays to move down the field. Like, they want to get after you. And if you beat them over the top, then you beat them over the top. That just gives Jordan Love and the offense more of an opportunity to stay on the field and put points on the board. So I think this is a young up and coming team. And the Eagles, we don't know really what we have in the Eagles, I think. For the first half of last year, the Eagles looked like they were going to run away with the NFC again. Yeah. And then it all fell apart. So I think that's the thing with this Eagles team. It's a Jekyll and Hyde. Which one will we see this year? And I think in this game, I think it's going to be pretty close. We haven't seen the Eagles play a good football game since late November of last year. So can they figure this all out in week one? Is Kellen Moore's offense and Vic Fangio's defense, is it going to be ready with all of the changes? It's a much younger team the Eagles are putting out there than last year. I just really don't know what we're going to see from the Eagles here in week one. It could be fantastic. It could also be kind of disastrous, and it could be somewhere in the middle. At the moment, I think the Packers are the slightly better team, and I like the trajectory of the Packers a little bit more than the Eagles at the moment.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing. Going into this game, I described it exactly like you did, John. I think we all have some recency bias. It's difficult to get away from that, but the Packers ended last season looking like a house of fire. I think they outplayed San Francisco when they lost. They should have won that game.
Yeah.
They destroyed the Cowboys, as you mentioned. And then I forgot they only won 9 games, and it kind of snuck into the playoffs. And then we talk about the Eagles. It was the disaster. The Eagles won 11 games. And I started looking at the rosters, and I said, well, Green Bay's got some issues up front on the offensive line. Defensively, they moved on from the Vic Fangio scheme. They went in a different direction. They hired Jeff Hatley, the former Boston College coach. And then I say smack dab in the middle of the Green Bay defense, John Stolnis, Eric Wilson is their middle linebacker. I think this is going to be a shootout.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be 40-30 territory. And I think the Eagles got every bit as good an opportunity to run it up on that Green Bay defense as vice versa. Am I being too positive there?
No, offensively, I have fewer question marks than defensively. And if Jalen Hurts looks anything like he did in training camp in this game on Friday night, then the Eagles' offense is going to be fine. And it's good, but I think we don't know what the Kellen Moore scheme is going to look like, how it's going to involve Saquon Barkley. Will they utilize Dallas Goedert more? You've got AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, so there's all these weapons. Jahan Dotson, how much is he included in the game plan? The big question with the Eagles' offense is how much do they miss Jason Kelce? And with him calling out the protections, that role now shifting to Jalen Hurts, will they get better at that? Because I think the Green Bay Packers are going to blitz quite a bit. Can they figure out a way to stop this brand new concept to defensive football, which is the blitz, something the Eagles had never seen before last year, obviously, because it was as if it was a totally new concept being introduced to them. You would think that Kellen Moore, an experienced offensive coordinator who has seen blitzes before, will help Jalen Hurts dial up some blitz beaters, because I think that's what we're going to see. And the other way you beat the blitz is if Jalen Hurts can take off running up the middle, find those holes when they bring an extra attacker and burn the blitz that way. Some designed rollouts to maybe keep the Packers from pinning their ears back and going after them. There's absolutely a scenario where this Eagles offense puts up 40 points on Friday night. And same with the Packers. I agree with you. I think smash the over on this game, because I think there's going to be a lot of points put up.
Yeah. Boy, that blitzing narrative, by the way, guys, it's week 1 and I'm already pulling out the hair I don't have in the fact that, boy, and sometimes it's like, Seth, I love you, Seth Joyner. And Seth knows that. And people say the narrative of that we the media, the evil media, John, I'm sure you get this with Billy's fans. We're all together. We all have lunch every Thursday at Chickies and Pete's to try to take down this team. The media with the narrative of Jalen Hurts, the narrative of Jalen. He freaking said it.
Yeah.
He said it. How more plainly can it be? Can we not ask a question about what he said? And the fact that the blitz, what was the exact wording? I'm trying to come up with it on the fly, but it basically halted his eagerness to learn, was what he said.
Yeah.
He said it. And I don't know. There's some kind of narrative. I talked to Lane Johnson this week. John, he said, the blitz is coming. We know it. That's why Kellen Moore's here, to fix the issues with the blitz, not about the motion and all that. That's all white noise. Fix the issues with the blitz. The Eagles know it's coming, and until they stop it, until they prove they can handle it, nobody's going to stop doing it.
Yeah. If you're a defensive coordinator and you're not blitzing, you're an idiot, because you need to be coming after Jalen Hurts and making him show you that he can beat you, making him show you that he can throw quick passes over the middle, something that he's kind of reluctant to do. When he does throw over the middle, he's very successful. He doesn't like to do it.
Doesn't. That's the ironic part. They're tremendously successful.
Yeah.
When they throw over, they just don't do it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and I think having Saquon as a receiver out of the backfield, I'll be interested to see if they use that as a blitz beater as well. I mean, if you see 5-6 guys coming after you, and Saquon can leak out and you can dump it off to him, that's a weapon out of the backfield. And the Eagles have never really utilized their running backs in that way. So and Kellen Moore has done that. He did that in his time in Dallas. You know, I mean, he has the ability, and he certainly has the weapons. Everything is in place for the Eagles to be improved against the blitz. They have the personnel. I think the offensive line is still going to be quite good even without Jason Kelce. They've got an offensive coordinator who knows what he's doing, and they've got an MVP caliber quarterback in Jalen Hurts, who appears to be healthy and motivated and ready to roll. There are no excuses to not being able to beat a blitz, something that every one of these players has seen in their collegiate and pro careers. That's what made last year so mind-boggling. In high school, it's just mind-boggling.
Yeah, the Packers, their new defensive coordinator, Jeff Hafley, was asked what the play calling is going to look like. He said, I'm going to let it rip. I think he's a guy that's going to bring the pressure a lot. So the Eagles are going to get that test really early on here. I think the Packers are going to bring the blitz. Conversely, we got Kellen Moore now on the offense. John, what should the approach be from Kellen Moore? We talked about how stagnant the offense got last year, how much it struggled down the stretch, only putting up 9 points in the playoff game. What's going to be the approach on the offense? How much different will it look from last year?
I think a lot of it is going to have to do with how they utilize Saquon Barkley. I don't think the passing game is going to look a whole lot different, except for, again, situations where you're maybe seeing a blitz or expecting a blitz, and they have some quicker routes instead of everything being vertical, which it was at the end of last year. But I'm curious to see how much they run Saquon Barkley, how much Kenny Gainwell gets inserted, what kind of a rotation there is, because if you're going to use Saquon Barkley as a 20 carry a game guy, which is I think why you paid him the big money, that's a blitz beater as well. Saquon Barkley, you're taking 5-6 guys, and all of a sudden you're handing the ball to Barkley, and he's getting past the past the line and getting into the secondary. That's a real quick way to stop what the Packers are doing. But the Packers are geared up for that. So I don't know. I think early the Eagles are going to take their shots with AJ Brown and Devontae Smith down the field. We saw in the summertime that those two guys just looked unstoppable. And if you're going to if you can give Jalen Hurts a little bit of time back there, and you send those guys on some of those deep patterns, they are going to connect on some big plays down the field. So I think early on, I think you're going to see the Eagles take some shots. I think that's going to be, if the Green Bay game plan is as we think it will be, which is a lot of pressure on Jalen Hurts, there will be opportunities there for these guys to hook up. And if they do, then Green Bay is going to have to recalibrate. They're going to have to figure something else out. And then maybe you can utilize Saquon Barkley in the running game. So I think we're going to see probably a little bit of vertical passing first quarter into the second quarter, and then the running game really start to assert itself in the second half if things go the Eagles' way.
Yeah. I do think that things will go the Eagles' way offensively as well, as I mentioned, I think, but it's probably going to be vice versa as well. My biggest concern on defense is Matt LaFleur is obviously going to game plan to take advantage of those linebackers and Quinyon Mitchell playing the slot in the middle of the field with a boatload of playmakers. They might not be as well known as AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, but boy, the Packers are deep when it comes to receivers and guys who can make plays, whether it's Christian Watson, who's healthy, and when he's healthy, he's one of the most difficult matchups in the NFL, and he's not often healthy, but unfortunately for the Eagles, Jaden Reed is a big-time young receiver. Romeo Dobbs, little bit banged up, but I think he's going to play. Even if you go down to Dontavian Wicks and Bo Melton, they got two good tight ends. Josh Jacobs, I don't love moving on from Aaron Jones because I think he was a perfect fit for their offense and how they do things. But I get it. He's older. He's had injury issues. So not as high on Josh Jacobs as a fit for them. I think if the Eagles get something done defensively, it's going to have to be up front. And it's going to have to be Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis and Bryce Huff. Josh Sweat as well. Those guys, they got to bring their A game. Are they capable of doing that against an average offensive line?
Yeah. That's my biggest worry is up front, the defensive line, because I know, you signed Huff in the offseason to replace Hassan Reddick. That is replacing a certainty with a question mark, especially on early downs. Can Huff hold up well enough when the Packers want to run the ball on first and second down? Who knows how much of that they'll do with Jordan Love? You've got an elite pass thrower. Maybe they're not running quite as much, but you spend a lot of money on Josh Jacobs. My guess is they want to run him as well. Jordan Davis is still quite the enigma. I think we're all confident that Jalen Carter could be one of the best defensive tackles in football, starting as early as this year. But Jordan Davis remains an enigma. I still don't know what we really have in him. We haven't seen him flash as the Pro Bowl type player that I think most of us thought we would be getting, especially as we're entering year 3. And Josh Sweat disappeared in the second half last year as his snap load increased last season. His production level went way down. And I don't think removing Hassan Reddick from the rotation is good for Josh Sweat and his ability to stay fresh. They've got to get some contributions from Nolan Smith. Jalix Hunt looked pretty good in the summer, but I don't think you can depend on him to be a major part of the rotation. Maybe he gets you a few sacks this year, but I mean, he's a rookie for a rookie pick. So I mean, I don't know that there's a whole lot that you can expect from him. That's my big worry is, can this Eagles pass rush get to Jordan Love? Can they get him a little bit nervous? Can they give him happy feet? Because if they can't and Love has time to throw, the Packers are going to score a lot of points too. They're going to move up and down the field as well on this Vic Fangio defense. And as much as I like the additions that they made in the secondary, those guys can't cover forever. So I think the defense is obviously the biggest question mark on this team. I like that they went younger, but they really need these draft picks that they've invested in over the last couple of years to pay dividends here in 2024, because they didn't go out and buy and get a bunch of veterans. I mean, they got CJ GJ and Darius Slay, certainly veteran players back there that are going to help, but the rest of this unit is relatively young, and they're athletic, but they need to play. They need to make plays here early in the season, right from the start.
No doubt, John. I think you're right about the game being a shootout. John said that. Both Johns have said that on the show today. You think that's advantage Eagles or advantage Packers if this game does become a shootout?
I mean, I think they're equally yoked. Really. I mean, no, they both have the ability. They both have the weapons. Jordan Love was just what he did in the second half last year when they just they figured out that, hey, they don't need to baby him. They actually can just let him go. Like John was saying, they have a ton of weapons on offense. None of them are as flashy as Brown or Smith, but they can move the ball really well. And I think at the moment, I think it might favor the Packers just because we don't know how the Eagles are going to look with Kellen Moore and all these different pieces and all these different weapons that the Eagles have. It might take a couple of weeks. It might take 3 weeks for the Eagles in this new offense to get moving. I will always side with the offense that has continuity to it, as opposed to the offense that's trying to integrate new things early in the season. Maybe we'll be surprised, but I look at this Packers team as kind of moving from one stage to the next in their growth and their development, moving. I had a guy who's coming on Eye on the Enemy who covers the Packers, and he equated it to kind of like trading in your Corolla for a high-end Ferrari or something like that. Like you're moving up. With the Eagles, I don't know. It seems like you're trading in a troubled offense, which is what they had at the end of last year, to something unknown. The potential is certainly there. I think at this moment in week 1, when there's so much we don't know, I'll take the Packers in a shootout because I think there's a little bit more certainty on what it is that they want to do. They know what they want to do on offense, I think, a little bit more than what we know the Eagles are going to be able to do on offense. It's really just a lack of knowledge of what we're going to see from Kellen Moore and this group.
But there is talent. I think
Yes.
so from that perspective, I find it I really can't come up for a lot of ways other than the obvious, which is multiple injuries at key players, which is always the case in the NFL, John. I can't come up with the many reasons to say this offense is not going to be good. It's just a matter of how good. And is it going to be in the conversation to be the best in the NFL or bottom of the top 10, which was disappointing like last year? I think that's the floor is pretty high, is how I describe it. The defense, lot more question marks. And one of the interesting things about Vic Fangio I want to run by is he's got a lot of Jim Schwartz in him in that he's not handing out compliments much. You go back to when early in camp when he was asked about Bryce Hupp and he said he's not ready yet. With Cooper DeJean just last week, he said, I think he's as prepared as he can be, but having said that, not where he needs to be. That's Vic Fangio. I think part of the reason Nakobe Dean is here is because Vic lit a fire under his you-know-what and basically said, well, he's done it in college.
Yeah.
And I even asked him about Jalen Carter. I think we all know. We're all on the same boat, and Vic's on it as well. That dude's freaking talented. And I asked him this week, it's like, have you gotten a feel for, what he's capable of? And he even begged off that. He said, well, practice is practice. Let's wait and see the game. And I bring all that up to bring this up. Quinyon Mitchell. With Quinyon, it was like yes and yes when he was asked, is he ready? And can he play both positions, nickel and outside corner? What do you make of that? Does that excite? I mean, he downplays everybody except Quinyon Mitchell, who's a rookie, who's never played before.
A rookie cornerback.
Yeah.
And we know that rookie cornerbacks, that's one of the hardest positions to play as a rookie because these experienced NFL wide receivers, wide receivers have the advantage anyway because they know where they're going. The defensive backs, at least the good wide receivers, know where they're going. Defensive backs don't know. It's a reactive position, right? You're trying to react to whatever it is the receivers are doing. So you're already at a disadvantage as a cornerback anyway. And as a rookie, you're still learning the ropes. And they want him to learn how to play outside and inside at the same time. You factor all that stuff in. It is really incredible to hear Vic Fangio talking him up the way he is with everything they're throwing at him. But everything we heard this spring from A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith was that the kid was covering them great. They'd win some, he'd win some, which is kind of what you want to hear. Making plays on the ball, pass breakups, inside, outside. It's very encouraging, and it gives you every reason to believe the hype is for real, that the kid's going to be good right away, that he's going to be a viable NFL starter right away. It's very unusual for a rookie cornerback to make an impact, a positive impact right away. But I think Quinyon Mitchell is one of those guys that can do it. And I agree with you. The way Vic Fangio talks about some of his players, he's honest. He's not gonna sprinkle fairy dust on a guy who in the media and in hopes that will make them better. If somebody's not playing up to his standards or playing well or coming up short, he'll say it. And I like that about him. And I think for a young defense, I think that's what they need. I think they need a guy who's going to kind of be like a father figure, a little bit of tough love type guy to get these guys to where they need to be. So I think there's every reason to be encouraged by Quinyon Mitchell. It sounds like he's going to be on the field virtually every down from opening snaps. So we'll see. I think it's only all the good things you're hearing is certainly a whole lot better than Vic Fangio coming out and saying, well, we'll see.
And by the way, I just pulled it up, guys. I asked him about Jalen Carter and basically said, other than the number of reps and the kind of stuff that we've talked about conditioning, I said he's obviously very talented. Where do you think he is in the stage of where you want him? And Big said, I think we'll get a better barometer of that after the game. He only, I think, played 3 plays in the opening preseason game. Practice is practice. I think I'll be better able to answer that in a couple weeks. Nothing bad, but
Sure.
we all know that dude's special. We all know that.
I think Matt LaFleur called him a freak show.
Yeah, he called him. Yeah, Matt LaFleur gave him all the flowers. Then Martin Frank, my buddy Martin Frank, was next, and he said, Quinyon, as being a guy who's going to be on the field about every play, do you see that? Is he ready to handle that kind of responsibility? And Vic's answer was yes and yes. That's it. Which is weird for Vic Fangio. That's why I bring it up, which I think is a positive development. Now, that said, Jalen Carter's going to be the best defensive player on this team. But I think it is really positive for Quinyon Mitchell. Although, I got to be honest with you, John, I'm not in love with the moving back and forth. I'd rather just put him outside, let him learn, and I think you're going to have one of the top outside corners in the game pretty quickly. And that's the end game. So why bother with all the other stuff? That's kind of my philosophy of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think they really liked what they saw from Isaiah Rodgers. I think they kind of want to get him on the field a little bit too. And Isaiah Rodgers is not your prototypical outside cover corner because he's a little bit on the smaller side.
He is small.
Yeah,
he is really small.
No, I think guys like
Christian Watkins.
Could Keely Ringo be the starter out there?
He could be. I mean, I think it's going to be Rodgers. Rodgers outplayed him.
I just wonder, man, those Packers receivers are big.
I know. That's what I mean. Yeah. I mean, and especially I bring up Watkins, who 6'4", can run.
Watson, you mean? Yeah, Christian Watson.
Yeah, Christian Watson. Yeah. So, he's a physical freak, as Matt LaFleur said with Jalen Carter. And boy, that matchup kind of scares me a little bit.
I'll tell you what, the whole thing scares me when people have made that the Packers, they don't have like an A.J. Brown. They don't have a bona fide number one, if you will. But it concerns they got 4 guys who are all competent and capable. And there's maybe
I think they got 5.
Yeah. What's that?
I think they got 5.
Yeah, they might. Well, I mean, whom I got Dobbs, Jaden Reed, Dontavian Wicks, and Christian Watson. Who am I missing?
The kid from Rutgers can also make some plays. But
so that scares me. When you have a quarterback like Jordan Love who can get that ball out, I mean, John.
And they have 2 good tight ends on top of that.
Yeah. What's the game? If you're Vic Fangio, Jordan Love's in an interesting spot because he had his first big season. And similar to Jalen Hurts, now the league has the tape. What should be Vic Fangio's approach to slow down this quarterback and this offense?
Well, the thing that troubles me about the Vic Fangio style of defense is that there doesn't seem to be any alterations from week to week, depending on the opponent they're playing. I mean, he's just going to sit back and he's going to try and make Jordan Love complete 40 passes in order to score, 4 touchdowns or 3 touchdowns or whatever it is that they want to do. He wants to make it so that the Packers have to string together long drives, but I think the Packers can do that. So my approach would be, and I think what Vic is possibly going to do is, I would utilize Zach Bond as a blitzer as much as I can. That's what he was really good at in New Orleans last year. I think you're going to see him come on some blitzes. How much will Vic blitz in this? I think they want to rely on the front 4 to generate the pressure. And if they can do that, then Vic can run his offense. I think you're going to see, we don't see the Eagles, generally speaking, have their cornerbacks follow the receivers. They play on a certain side, and that's kind of the way they go. So I think
Vic would take umbrage with you, John.
He would. Okay.
But I get it. I don't like the scheme, but I don't like the scheme because of the other people running the scheme. Like, I think the Ed Donatells of the world and the Joe Barrys of the world have poisoned the scheme. Like, because what you just described is exactly what those guys did, and to a certain extent, Sean Desai as well. Um, and Vic does a lot more than they do, but more importantly, he teaches it better. So you're
Yeah.
more equipped. Like the whole point of this scheme is you're going to see a bunch of too high to start, and then you spin off into various coverages after the quarterback snaps. So post snap. And the
Mhm.
whole design is to make them think a little bit quicker, speed things up, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But no doubts what you say. The goal is to limit explosive plays and obviously limit points, most
Mhm.
notably. But yeah.
Do you guys think we're going to see him drop the defensive ends into coverage like they
Oh
were doing at the
God,
end of
yeah.
last year?
Way more, and people are not going to be happy with that.
Right.
In fact, I think a lot of people say, well, why is Zach Bond? Why are they defaulting to Zach Bond? Well, if you watch Miami last year, they had Andrew Van Ginkel, I bring up all the time, who had a great season and was sort of a hybrid off-ball linebacker, edge rusher. I think that's what he's doing with Zach Bond, but we'll see. We'll get a better indication of that on
Yeah.
Friday night against Green Bay. But he does a lot more than his underlings, his proteges. And he, more importantly than that, he teaches it better.
Yeah.
So I think the Vic Fangio scheme with Vic Fangio is a lot better than it is with Sean Desai and even Jonathan Gannon, who people know I like and respect. Vic is better at it.
Well, I mean, and that's why you went out and you got the architect, right? You're tired of having, all these paintings done by, of Picasso paintings done by guys other than Picasso. You want a Picasso,
Yeah, exactly.
you go get the real deal.
Yeah.
Now, so I mean, and again, I think the defensive roster is better than it was a year ago as well. I mean, I think there is more talent, especially in the secondary. They
Oh yeah.
really worked hard getting. I think one of the most underrated moves of the season that we don't talk about was going out and getting CJ to help at the safety position. I think he's going to bring an attitude to the defense, a playmaking ability to the defense, the secondary that they didn't have a year ago, and I think that's bringing him back. It kind of felt like they didn't really bring back a big time guy, but that's a big time player. And I think that's really going to help the back guys, the younger guys, kind of get acclimated, get comfortable. I feel much better about the safety position than I did a year ago, and I think a lot of that is CJ. I think he could be the guy who gets the first turnover for the Eagles this year.
Yeah, I'm hopeful on him, but he's only, I know you can't legislate injury. You can't factor that in always because it's part of the game, but he's only played 15 games in 2 years. I mean, the guy's missed a lot of games. I'm concerned on some of that, but like I said, you can't budget. You can't, there's nothing you can do about it other than hope that he stays healthy. But I don't know. We're going to see. I think it's going to be a great game, John. Last question for me, man. Where are you in this game? You think the Eagles get the win? What's your prediction coming into this game?
My prediction is that I think it's going to be a really good game. I think these two teams are pretty even. I think talent-wise, they really do mirror each other. It would not at all surprise me if the Eagles and the Packers are playing in the NFC Championship game 18, 19, 20 weeks from now, I guess is what it would be. For this game, if they were playing in week 5 or week 6, I think I would feel a little bit more confident in picking the Eagles to win. At the moment, I feel like I have a little bit more of a feeling. I know a little bit more about what the Packers are than what the Eagles are. I think the Eagles are good. I think this is a good Eagles team. I think this Eagles team has a chance to go to the Super Bowl. All the pieces are in place. I think they brought in good coaching. So I just think it might take a couple of 3 weeks before it all starts to click, before everything starts to roll. That being said, I don't think the Eagles, I think the Packers win this game, but I don't think it's a blowout. I think if anything, it's a loss that if you're an Eagles fan, maybe you walk away feeling pretty good about, because I think they're going to play the Packers tough. I think it's going to come down to.
I'll end it there with you at John Stolnis. Make sure you follow John on the X platform. Read him at Bleeding Green Nation. Eye on the Enemy podcast there as well. And his Phillies coverage does a tremendous job with it all. I got to tell you, and I agree with everything you just said, John, from the standpoint of this is a potential NFC championship game match. And if the Packers win this game, it's probably going to be in Green Bay, that NFC Championship game. Does that piss you off a little bit that Jeffrey Lurie didn't push
Yes.
back and say
Yes.
Cleveland? Yeah, this would have been a home game, and I think we all pick the Eagles if it's a home game at Lincoln Financial Field.
Yep.
But that's not what it is. So how upset would you be from that perspective?
I'd be furious, and I think playing this game in Brazil is 60 different kinds of stupid. I think it puts both teams at a disadvantage, in the weeks after, making this cross-continental flight for the first game of the season against a team that, like you said, this should be a home game. So in a head-to-head matchup tiebreaker, the Packers would get home field advantage if they win on this neutral field. So I think it's interesting. The Eagles are 2.5-point favorites last I saw. I'm very curious. I mean, sometimes the line tells you which way you should be leaning. But yeah, I think this is dumb. I think if they want to do a Brazil trip middle of the season and then have your bye week after that, that would make more sense to me. Friday night games are dumb. Starting off the season in Brazil against the Packers is dumb. And if this does come to a tiebreaker, the Eagles lose because they should have played this game at Lincoln Financial Field. Yeah, I'll be furious too.
No doubt. John Stolnis joining us here on Birds 365. John, great stuff today. Great insight. Great preview of the game. You certainly know your stuff. I think the viewers appreciated your insight today. I appreciated it. Thanks for being here, John. We'll talk to you soon. All right, brother?
You bet. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, John.
John Stolnis joining us on Birds 365. Great stuff from Johnny Stolnis there, John. Boy, a lot to talk about with this game, man. It's a chess match in this one, Johnny Mac. Like, I look at Matt LaFleur and Vic Fangio in that matchup and how Matt's going to try and game plan to go against Vic's style of defense. I don't know who I'm going to give the advantage to there, but it's an interesting matchup for sure.
Yeah. Man, there's a lot of uncertainty. And, I remember I asked Kellen Moore about that, more so for him because he's facing a completely new defensive coordinator.
Right.
They're changing schemes. They're moving away from the Vic Fangio style of defense in Green Bay. So he's got a lot more to think about. Vic said, it's not that different. We got a lot of tape on Green Bay from last year. Same offense with Matt LaFleur from his perspective. It's just about stopping the talent. I do take a little bit of credence. I've mentioned it a couple of times. I think it's human nature. And I don't know this. I'm not around the Packers, obviously. I'm not around Jordan Love. Maybe it isn't. But we just saw it with Jalen Hurts. People are going to adjust. And when you have tremendous success, they're going to throw some different things at you. And how do you handle that? Generally, you might take a little bit of a half step back like Jalen Hurts did. That might happen to Jordan Love. And if anybody's going to come up with some new stuff and different looks and throw some different things at Jordan Love, it's going to be Vic Fangio. So maybe that's an advantage for the Eagles.
No doubt about it. We're going to get to our next commercial break here. We got a full hour to go here. Johnny Mac and I have no guest in hour two. I want to thank all of you guys for being here. Make sure you guys hit that like button. I'm not sure where we are on the like button. I think we're at 98 likes. Not bad. Not bad for the first hour of the show. Thank you guys for being here and liking the show. Big super chat, John. Massive super chat from our man, James Carver. James, we're going to hit it after the break. $50 on this NFL start. Look at that, Johnny Mac. Big support there from James Carver. Let's get to our commercial break. Thanks to everybody for being in the chat. Johnny Mac and I will be right back on Birds 365 in 3 minutes.
If you missed any of today's show on the JAKIB Media channel, listen to the podcast on your way home. Available on YouTube, Apple, and Spotify.